others to deliver it. And the laser focus that the president had on this, which he shared with me the day.
So you've got announcements on drug prices going on, and you've got yourself either reduction in drug prices, or we're going to force the drug companies to do X, Y, and Z. I'm not a fan of the force. You also have the Hegseth presser, which I shouldn't say is a presser, is meeting with the generals and the admirals, which the left hates, and well, of course they hate it. The left and the bulwark. Yeah, they're conservatives. Sure. They are. I've got it all for you. I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz Today. This is just the Maduro from Aging Room right there. There it is. Right. All right. Maybe you can't see it. It's not going to show up. Fine. Be that way. It's a good way to start the day. I'm Tony Katz. It's Tony Katz Today. Let's begin.
It was a frank and direct discussion with the President of the United States and Republican leaders, but significant and meaningful differences remain. Democrats are fighting to protect the health care of the American people, and we are not going to support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of everyday Americans.
Gosh, you're boring, Hakeem Jeffries. I mean, just boring as boring can be. It's the same old conversation constantly and consistently. So let it come. You don't want to stop it from happening? You don't want to stop it from happening. But in just about 13 hours from as I'm speaking right now, shutdown. That's my drum roll. It's not bad. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. Subscribe. I'd appreciate it if you would. 833-468-8669. 833 got Tony. Happy to open up the phone lines and have the conversations. I would say the odds are they're going to be a shutdown. The White House doesn't seem too concerned. I mean, as we are right here, you've got Dr. Oz speaking in front of the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and the President.
Some of them can't be in here because they're busy negotiating future deals. Inma Hernandez-Delso, John Brooks, who's a deputy administrator of mine, Theo Merkel, who is in the back and tall and hard to miss with DPC, and Corey Ensslin with the same group, did a spectacular job, and Don Dempsey at OMB. Just wonderful human beings, worked tirelessly to get this done. We were able to secure this first MFN deal, and the president touched on this, but we have much more to come. You'll be hearing breaking news from the president for the rest of the fall. And Mr. President, these brilliant minds are here because of you. Now, I don't want to just pay homage to this. I want to actually speak this a little bit. The passion to protect the American people brings top-tier Americans into the government.
I would only hope that people who want to serve come into the government. When the president starts answering questions, as I assume he will, I will take it to him. This is about a pricing deal with Pfizer. So the president's moving on like he's supposed to, handling things like he's supposed to. He spoke to the generals. Now he's doing the healthcare stuff. And no, you should understand, I'm not in favor of government price fixing by any stretch of the imagination. I am in favor of government engaging regulation changes to help bring down costs. It's just a question of the mechanism. Telling a company you can't charge more than X? No, that is not what we do. Buying 10% of Intel? No, that is not what we do. Yeah, I don't like any of that stuff. But if you want to change the system by which we have an insanity of drug pricing, you are more than welcome to. Do I want to stop the profit motive? No. Because do I want the drugs designed that save lives and that involves profit motive? Yes. Yes, I do. But as for the shutdown, let them shut it down. if this is the best that Hakeem Jeffries has, just the constant same old, if this is the best that, Chuck Schumer has, which is to say, these Republicans are not serious and they're going to hurt families. We know Republicans want grandma dead. That's the paraphrase of what they said about Paul Ryan, but nothing has changed. Speaker Johnson is saying the problem here is the Democratic Party.
Their counterproposal.
Sorry about that.
So what Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are demanding is that they claw back the $50 billion that we put into the rural hospital support structure. They want to take that back. We're not going to do that. We passed that because we have to allow for that. Also, if they shut the government down, not only are troops unpaid, federal workers, and all the services that everybody relies upon, but the WIC program, the nutrition program, women, infant, and children, they will not get that program, will not be funded. FEMA won't be funded. We have hurricanes off the coast of the United States right now. This is serious business. You have telehealth, you have mental health services, all that's funded by the government would stop if Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats have their way. The Democrat shutdown would be damaging for the country. We can't allow for it.
Exactly the words that Democrats would use on Republicans, and they are. And so it's a he said, she said, who gives a you-know-what about all of it? Because we can't do anything. The fundamental issue is that there is absolutely nothing that we can do about it. Can't change the result. It's going to be the way it is. They're going to shut it down. They're not going to shut it down. They're going to come to a last-minute deal. They're going to blame each other. Okay. The question before us is, do you want to go about engaging some funding regarding illegal immigrants? Do you think that we should be asking ourselves whether or not the Obamacare funding situation makes any sense? These are legitimate conversations, and the way they are posed by the political left, for example, is that we are not allowed to have them at all. We aren't allowed to engage them. We aren't allowed to discuss them. It's just they have to be. That doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't make any sense in the slightest. What makes sense is that we are always asking ourselves whether or not a program or a spending makes sense. Because maybe there comes a moment where it no longer does. Maybe there comes a moment where it's all done and all through and all finished and all complete. We don't have to spend any more money. That's solved. And this is a massive difference between the political right and the political left. Because the political left views the success of a program by how many people were or are on the program, were or are on the program. That's how they view the success. Look how many people are on this program. But the proper way to view something is how many people don't need the program. How many people are off the program. Isn't that the better way to look at something? And look at how NBC News, for example, talks about this. Check out how they engage this. This is their headline right here. What to know today. Teetering on the brink. President Donald Trump and Democratic leaders are blaming one another for the impasse on a funding deal to prevent the government shutdown after midnight on Wednesday. Teetering on the brink. What kind of thing is this? Teetering on the brink. No one's teetering on anything. It's the same old stuff. We have heard this before. There's nothing new. This is all just a little bit of history repeating. Now, people are upset with Trump because after he met with Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, he posted this meme. It was Schumer talking and it was Hakeem Jeffries wearing a sombrero and had a mustache, and mariachi music was playing in the background. I assume this was about the support for illegal immigrants. I do not laugh at the post. I laugh at, dear Lord, this is how serious they're taking it. This is the point. No, I'm not going to take this seriously. No, I'm not going to get worked up. This is how they view it. Why? Trump's post is the thing that's obscene? Extreme MAGA Republicans, extreme MAGA this, Republican healthcare crisis that. Oh, would you stop talking, you freak child? Freak. Nah, not to get worked up. Will they come to a deal? Maybe. They've got less than half a day to get it done, as far as I know. The Senate is going to hold another vote on the stopgap bill that passed the House, right? The continuing resolution. But what are the odds they're going to get a 60 votes to break that, to get over that hump, to make that happen, right? To get over what's known as cloture. Doubtful. Could they go nuclear and pass it? Well, yeah, I guess they very well could. But they're going to say, well, it's better to have ourselves a political victory and blame it on the Democrats. So they're not even so worried about any level of ramification, any level of fallout. Okay, so here's where we're at. No one actually knows what it is they're fighting over. Is it actually healthcare? Maybe. Maybe yes, maybe no. Is it actually the tax credits for Obamacare? Maybe yes, maybe no. Is there something else that actually Democrats want secretly, or Republicans are looking for access to? Maybe. Do we know it? I don't think so. And it sounds like here I have been talking about this shutdown, and there's really not much information to share. And that, guys, is the point. They make it so we are not 100% aware of what it is we're actually fighting over. The one thing that is true and is fascinating and is interesting is that Democrats don't actually want this, because they understand that there's a problem. And the problem goes to the idea of firing. If you get to a moment where the government is indeed shut down, right? It all gets shut down. You create an opportunity for firings. You create an opportunity for the Republicans to say, okay, well, this is happening, and now we have the opportunity to remove all these people who are non-essential, and you can absolutely remove them. Now that you have fired them under the shutdown ends, but they've been fired from all of these government agencies. Guess who gets to rehire them? The Trump administration. The Trump administration now gets to rehire all of these people they just fired from all of these agencies where they have had the luxury and the pleasure of having control. And as I understand it, as I see it, this is a big moment. Democrats get the shutdown. They can blame Republicans all they want. Republicans, and they've already said to the Office of Management and Budget and Russ Vogt, get ready to fire everybody. And we talked about this last week, and I joked about the fact, why do we have to wait for a shutdown? Just start firing people. Let's just get to it. But now you fire these people. No, now you need to replace these people. Okay, we'll replace them with our people. Now they are entrenched in the government structure. Isn't that what Democrats have been doing for years? There's always a way these things are looked at far beyond what we're dealing with on the actual dollars. There's a politics being played underneath the conversations of whose lives are going to be affected. And I cannot stop those lives from being affected. I can't. The only thing I can tell you is to have a bourbon and relax. Do not get worked up by it. Do not get driven crazy by it. The shutdown will happen or it won't. And that's that. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz Today. A stupid question. Maybe you know. Maybe you don't know. Maybe you're better at the Twitter social media than I. How do you boost a post? Anybody know? I've never tried. I've never tried to pay for any of the services. I mean, I aside from having that little checky mark thing, I never did anything else. So I was just curious. I see, but I could do it from my phone, but I can't do it from Boost. I don't know. I want to try it. Click. No, you can't. What do you mean? Click your picture. Oh, we're going through this. Wait. What do I view? View what? Right. Okay. Yeah, but it's not on there for that. Interesting. Yeah, we're learning. We are learning left and right. I don't know if it helps or not. I was just curious if it does. I was going to try it. Can you boost a post? I'll be able to. I figured out how to do it on my phone. Let's get back to the show. I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz Today. I'm glad you guys are here. We've got, is Trump now answering questions? No, it's Marty McCarry right now regarding drug prices. Everybody and their mother has been talking at this one right here. But I want to get to Trump Q&A if he does a Q&A. He seems impatient. He's like, come on, let me talk. This is my job. All right, go for it there, producer Landon. Did Marty McCary and Mehmet Oz plan on wearing the same tie? They're both wearing this kind of like purple tie. They're in the Oval Office. It's an announcement regarding drug prices and a deal with Pfizer. And everybody and their mother's been talking, and Trump is just waiting. He does not look pleased. He does not look pleased to be waiting at all. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. And if you follow me on the live stream right there's Trump. He's like, "Are you done, Marty? Are you done? Are you finished? I got things to say. Are you done? All right, that's enough." Like he's 4 seconds away from saying, "Okay, I've heard enough of you. Can't believe I gave you the job." But if Trump does indeed speak, I will bring it to you. Oh, he is coming back to the mic. Let's go.
One of the boards about how quickly the prices come down. And these are small examples. We're going to have it over 1,000% in some cases. You'll see that during the week. But we just picked out 4 at random, and you see the kind of numbers. Bobby and maybe Albert, good.
We picked 4 examples, but I want to be totally clear. These are not the only 4 examples. And as the president mentioned, this is not the only agreement. It is the first. It's a historic agreement. There are many to come, and we're excited to talk about them. And that means hundreds and hundreds of drugs. We are not exaggerating when we talk about reductions of up to 80%. We give you 4 examples here. One for dermatitis. The new price at MFN results in 80% reduction to what's available today. One in postmenopausal osteoporosis, 85%. Migraines that affect so many Americans, 50% reductions. Rheumatoid arthritis, something my own mother struggled with, 40% reductions. This is about
you're
access.
Going to start seeing
this
more
is about
and more
ensuring
about
Americans have.
About price reductions and how this works. We'll get to it. Speaking of reductions, Jimmy Kimmel has lost 60% of his audience. Just me? Not just me. Look at you. That's right there. We're talking about major league applause here. Thank you. Didn't last very long. My gosh. Jimmy Kimmel. He hosts Jimmy Kimmel Live, which, as you know, is the finest of the late night shows. It has shed 64% of its audience. Because when he came back, man, did it jump. It was massive. 6.5 million people showed up to watch him pretend to cry about Charlie Kirk's death. Hold on. That is my opinion. Maybe he meant it. And maybe I need to show more grace. But a guy who didn't apologize, wasn't interested in apologizing about lying about who shot Jimmy Kimmel. You know, there are still so-called news outlets out there who shot Charlie Kirk. Sorry. There are so-called news outlets out there that are still saying, you know, the motive in the assassination of Charlie Kirk is still unclear. Back to you in the studio. They're still saying it. They are stating out loud that the motive in the assassination of Charlie Kirk is unknown, unclear. We're not sure. The experts are unaware. If you just listened to the show, we would have told you what's what. But that his ratings are down, or that the audience has dropped 6.5 million when he returned last week. A week later, 2.3 million. That's the average. He's also losing in the key demo, which is 2554. 465,000. 465,000 people in that key demo. 18 to 49, 334,000. I'm surprised that many people even watch. That problem still hasn't changed. It's not good. Nobody wants it. So why don't networks do something about this? And the answer is they like it for its own purpose. And that purpose is not you or your entertainment. Keep it here. This is Tony Katz today. President Trump now answering questions.
That's coming down now to probably $15 or $18. They'll go up to 18. I think that's pretty much right, Albert. It's not you, but they'll go up to 18, and will come down from 135 or whatever down to 18. I mean, that's a massive number. Remember, I was the one that held a news conference because I lowered drug prices by 1/4%. I think it was 1/8 of 1%, but it was the only one in 28 years that brought drug prices down for the year. But it was a very small number. Now we're talking about, you're going to see one over 1,000%. Look at these numbers. So, and this has a big impact, even on the discussion that we'll have with Chuck Schumer, who was here yesterday, along with a very nice gentleman who I didn't really know. You know who I'm talking about. The two of them came and we had a good discussion, and we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens, but this has a huge impact on that because these numbers are going to bring Medicaid. We talk about Obamacare. Obamacare is a failure. Obamacare is not good. It's not. It's there, but relative to other health care programs, it's in the lower 20%. It's not good. And I asked the Democrat representatives, what do you think about coming up with a better health care? This actually allows you to do that because the cost of prescription medicine is a big, I guess, a very big, more than 50% the cost of what we're talking about. So we might be able to do something like that. This is one of the biggest news conference from a medical standpoint that I think has ever been had by any administration. Yeah, please.
Thank you. I'm curious, where are the other companies other than Pfizer? Are you expecting them to come on later?
They're all with us. And I was honored to have Albert be the first. He's done a fantastic job with, as you know, with the COVID. He did a fantastic job with a lot of things. He's a leader, and Pfizer is right at the top. You know, it's there. Eli Lilly has been fantastic also, your friend, my friend. And they're all coming in over the next week. We're making deals with all of them. And I said, if we don't make a deal, then we're going to tariff them an extra 5, 6, 7, 8%, whatever the difference is, and we'll take it that way. So we took away the advantage by the fact that we have tariffs. We took away the advantage that they would have of just saying no, and we couldn't do anything about it. If they do that, what we do is we'd put a tariff on them of an equivalent amount, and we take it that way. And nobody wants to play that game. So they're going to be, they're all going to be good. We didn't have to mention that to Albert. Well, maybe I whispered it to him very slightly, you know. We had to give ourselves a little bit of an advantage. But no, but the tariffs played a big role because they know that's what's going to happen.
You mentioned the tariff, the exemption of the 232s, but can you share a timeline for when we can expect the results of that 232 investigation?
Let Howard answer that question.
I don't even know what that is.
Sure. So while we're negotiating with these companies, we're going to let them play out and finish these negotiations because they are the most important thing to the American
Do you want to
people.
get into?
So we are standing by, helping, and working with them. But
Pete
the
Hegseth's
driver
speech,
of the 232
which I'm going to share later on the
is
radio
our
side.
HHS.
It's pretty. To watch the left lose their minds over this is hilarious. How embarrassing they are. But Hegseth's speech was valuable. Did it have to happen the way it happened? I don't know. But the idea that the left is all angry about this, let them be. They're ridiculous people who don't understand how well this connects. Back to the radio show. The bulwark is not conservative. These are not conservatives. These are anti-Trump zealots who are desperate to believe that they are making a point. And it's not that they don't have minds and they don't have the capacity to make a point. It's that when you hear Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, speak to the generals and admirals who have convened at Quantico, and you state that update from Quantico, a talk show host who got in a drunken altercation with the hotel staffer at a conference before allegedly assaulting a woman who was not his second or third wife, is announcing that soldiers can no longer have beards to guarantee high standards. If that's what you want to do, smear the Secretary of War and completely not listen to everything he said, you are a member of the bulwark. You claim to be a conservative, but of course you fail at the task of just being a normal person, never mind understanding any conservative level of principle. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything I do over at TonyKatz.com. This was the post from Tim Miller, and this post is fully and completely ignorant. The attack on Pete Hegseth, unnecessary, certainly based in innuendo. You engage it as an allegation. And then you point to one thing he talked about, which was the idea of beards. Yes, that actually did come up. What came up was the idea of standards. Constantly and consistently, the idea of standards, that we have to adhere to a principle, that we do things in a certain way to assure the best possible result. And one of the things you don't do is engage this idea of you could do this, and you could do that, and you could do the other, because then everyone thinks they could do everything, and you don't have everybody rowing in the same direction. Why in the world is it so necessary to make your bed every morning? Wait, should I wait for the military people to answer that question? All right, I'll wait. I will let the military people answer that question. Why? Oh, why is it important for someone in the military to make their bed every morning? Tell me in the chat room. Go to youtube.com/Tony Katz. Tell me there. Tell me on Twitter X @Tony Katz. Tell me on Facebook, Tony Katz Radio. Email me, Tony@TonyKatz.com. If you have my number, you can text me, but I'm not giving that out over the air. Don't be crazy. Why is it that it's important to make your bed? Well, Claudia believes that the answer is discipline. Certainly, that can be the answer. As I know the answer to be, the reason that you make your bed in the morning is so you have a sense of accomplishment, that you have gotten something done. And so there is a standard at play about that. How we work ourselves each and every day, the routine that sets us up for success, which I would argue in the military is pretty dang important. Not important to the bulwark. How you prepare yourself, the uniform that you wear, how that uniform is presented to the world, that is part of the standard. And of course, it goes far beyond the concept of the beard. It goes to the idea of what it is we expect, what it is we need, what it is we demand. And Secretary Hegseth went into a conversation regarding what it is we demand.
As Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence, the definition of toxic has been turned upside down, and we're correcting that. That's why today, at my direction, we're undertaking a full review of the department's definitions of so-called toxic leadership, bullying, and hazing, to empower leaders to enforce standards without fear of retribution or second guessing. Of course, you can't do like nasty bullying and hazing. We're talking about words like bullying and hazing and toxic. They've been weaponized and bastardized inside our formations, undercutting commanders and NCOs. No more. Setting, achieving, and maintaining high standards is what you all do. And if that makes me toxic, then so be it. Second, today at our direction, we're ensuring that every service, every unit, every schoolhouse, and every form of professional military education conduct an immediate review of their standards. Now, we've done this in many places already, but today it goes across the entire Department of War. Any place where tried and true physical standards were altered, especially since 2015 when combat arms standards were changed to ensure females could qualify, must be returned to their original standard. Other standards have been manipulated to hit racial quotas as well, which is just as unacceptable. This too must end. Merit only. The president.
Merit only. No wonder the left is outraged. They still think that the military should be utilized as some type of tool to their social desires. And the answer is no. No. No, we're not going to agree to disagree. We're not going to sit here and have a great debate about it. The military exists for two purposes: kill people and break things. And that's it. Once the enemy is dead, once their will has been broken, once they have lost, then our military can do any kind of heart-wrenching, touching, sweet thing, help rebuilding a whole host of activities. But until that moment occurs, where the fight is done, where the mission is accomplished, there is no room for anybody in the military to say, well, it's not what you do. And this is the conversation that Pete Hegseth is having.
It talks about it all the time, merit-based. Here are two basic frameworks I urge you to pursue in this process. Standards I call, my staff's heard all about them, the 1990 test and the E6 test. The 1990s test is simple. What were the military standards in 1990? And if they have changed, tell me why. Was it a necessary change based on the evolving landscape of combat? Or was the change due to a softening, weakening, or gender-based pursuit of other priorities? 1990s seems to be as good a place to start as any. And the E6 test. Ask yourself, does what you're doing make the leadership, accountability, and lethality efforts of an E6, or frankly an O3, does it make it easier or more complicated? Does the change empower staff sergeants, petty officers, and tech sergeants to get back to basics? The answer should be a resounding yes. The E6 test, or O3 test, clarifies a lot, and it clarifies quickly. Because war does not care if you're a man or a woman. Neither does the enemy. Nor does the weight of your rucksack, the size of an artillery round, or the body weight of a casualty on the battlefield who must be carried. This, and I want to be very clear about this, this is not about preventing women from serving. We very much value the impact of female troops. Our female officers and NCOs are the absolute best in the world. But when it comes to any job that requires physical power to perform in combat, those physical standards must be high and gender neutral. If women can make it, excellent. If not, it is what it is.
That is everything I voted for. Every last bit of it. The honesty, the clarity, the directness, the focus, the get over yourself, the you ain't that special, and oh, by the way, this is actually what is needed. And I would argue, without having a single person I can point to in my head, that the women in the military would say, yeah, that makes sense. It's only the liberal women in the suburbs of name your city who say, oh, this is just so terrible. He's trying to keep women out of combat. But as you'll hear, he's not just talking about women.
If that means no women qualify for some combat jobs, so be it. That is not the intent, but it could be the result, so be it. It will also mean that weak men won't qualify because we're not playing games.
Ta-da! Those who cannot do the job cannot do the job. They can do other jobs. Let them. Let them serve. But there are some jobs that if you cannot do it, you cannot do it because there is a standard. And if you do not adhere to it, that's the ball game. And nothing about your feelings matter. Your feelings don't matter. No one cares. You should be laughed at for those feelings. I want to serve in this position, even though I can't engage the physical needs necessary. And if you keep me from it, you're a sexist. Screw you. Go sit down. You don't even deserve to wear the uniform. I never wore the uniform, and I will say out loud quite clearly that someone who says you have to change the rules for me doesn't deserve to wear the uniform ever. They're not worthy. I didn't realize that was such a shocking thing to say. But this was part of the conversation that Pete Hegseth had this morning with the generals and admirals that he assembled there in Virginia. Why is the left so outraged by this? Why are they so angry about this? Why are they going about mocking and shaming and how ridiculous, and this could have been done in an email? And I could speculate and state that anything that shows American strength is seen as a negative. Anything that shows a positioning of we ain't messing around. At one moment, Secretary Hegseth, our thought process can be defined as FAFO. And we will happily explain this to our enemies. They're outraged by what he did here. He outraged by the meeting. Now, I will say to you, I agree that the meeting was odd in that, is it normal to assemble all these people together? Do you want all these people to be in the same room? Do you want them in the same room? Yes or no? Is that the best thing to ensure readiness and operational security, et cetera? I think that's a fine question. But forget that question. They're upset that Hegseth is saying what he's saying. You'll notice there are all these stories out now that he's manic and how he handles the staff and how he deals with this. You hear this? You hear what he just said? You hear the discussion about readiness? You hear the discussion about being merit-based? That's what Trump supporters voted for. And that is seen as a positive. That is seen as exactly what we need. That is a smack in the face to the nonsense progressivism that has taken over. And that gets a round of applause from America. More of that immediately, if not sooner. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back. Sorry, Tony Katz. Tony Katz Today was tweeting some very, very angry lefties. Very, very, very angry. By the way, I'm aware, as anybody who is in any type of position to do this kind of work, that I have detractors and trolls and all that jazz. I'm very aware. Some of them I don't see. Some of them I don't pay attention to. I'm aware that they're there, but I don't get too involved and I don't dig in because it doesn't pay. It doesn't pay on any level. So I was asked about that privately. And it's just like, hey, just some things aren't worth the time. Why would you give anybody any kind of love whatsoever? But I have got in the third hour, which you'll hear at WIBC.com, I have a whole bunch of the speech with my commentary, and I'm gonna share it for the hour because I think it's outrageously important. The standard matters. And to watch the left be upset by this is really something else. This is what you're upset by. This is what you're angered by. That's incredible. There's never a moment where they're like, okay, the military having a standard. Oh, this is a waste of time. That's your argument. You're not even in favor of the military having a standard. Bill Kristol writing, general and flag officers thought right now as they listen to President Trump, whiskey, tango, a foxtrot. I thought he was talking about I thought he was talking about Hegseth. More people listen to the president than listen to Bill Kristol. By the way, the president's speech, he did all the President Trump stuff. Talked about tariffs and this and that and the other. It was nutty. None of that matters. None of it matters. None of it matters. What matters most is that they are upset that we are believers that the fighting force should be lethal and should be prepared, should have a standard, should be able to meet certain requirements. They are infuriated by it. What a thing to be angry about. Truly.
Democrats missed a key data point when they assert that the most violent cities are in red states. Almost all of those cities are run by Democrat mayors. Axio reports that of the 20 cities with more than 100,000 residents and the highest murder rate, 19 have a Democrat mayor. President Trump is willing to work with these mayors, but they keep turning down the offer for help, despite the fact that President Trump's efforts are working in places like D.C. and Memphis.
I don't know why you would turn down the help, and I don't know why you'd make the violence political. There is connectivity. Bad policy leads to bad results. And progressives seem to have bad policies on crime. They believe in things that don't actually provide any safety or any value. They're seen as kind and nice and all that jazz, but no one's interested in kind and nice. This goes back to the conversation regarding Pete Hegseth. They want safe streets. Criminals need to be in jail. Of course you have to prosecute. And you have leftists who don't believe in any of this. They don't believe in any prosecution. They don't believe in cash bail. They don't believe in this. They don't believe in that. When you do something, it's the greatest crime in the world. When somebody else does something, my gosh, why are you looking at them? It's how they address themselves. Tony Katz today. So that was Chuck Grassley making the point. If the objective is to say there's more violence in red states, you can say whatever you want. Still, go get the help if the government's offering up the help, and you can bring people in, you can bring down the crime rate, and maybe reset a standard. Why in the world would you make this political? What exactly is wrong with these people that they would make it political? That's crazy town. Take the help. But if the city itself is run by progressives, which is certainly true in a lot of cities and a lot of Midwest cities, the state's a red state. I live in a quote-unquote red state, but the mayor of Indianapolis is an awful progressive. Hasn't shown that he gives any care to the violence that takes place in this city. Meanwhile, there's more reaction to what it is Hegseth said, like not wanting to have fat generals. Is that somehow a rude thing to say? He doesn't want a fat general? He wants to have a look. Someone, I think it was Gavin Newsom, was like, well, if you don't want any fat people in the military, I guess Donald Trump's out. This is who they are. Unserious people who, when the moment comes for seriousness, won't be able to meet the moment. The midterms are November 3rd, 2026. Vote accordingly. This is Tony Katz today. These people are certifiable. What they focus on, what they believe, how they go about doing these things. It's no value to them. There's no value in it to them at all. At all. It is stunning. So here's what's going on. We are in the radio break right now. So we will take the break right here. That's what we will do. Oh, a lot of Democrats saying this meeting could have been an email. Okay. You know what? It could have been an email. It could have been an email. Sure. But I think the story here is we're going to change the military for the better, put an end to the nonsense, and people who complain about it, they can go somewhere else. Don't want to hear them. Don't want to hear their complaining about women this or about people who aren't as physically fit that. There are other places for you. Just not in the places that require a certain physicality. Radio show is in break. We're in break. Keep it right here, guys. A lot more to get to. Smoke them if you got them. Be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Good to be here. Pulled out the, it was a gift. It is the Purdue University ashtray. This was a gift. It says Purdue on the side right there. And then, you know, when you smoke and you got the cigar in there, it comes out it's fancy. It's Purdue. There was engineering involved. What do you expect right there? So you've got this new deal on drugs. We will get to that story. Oddly enough, I was almost expecting a press conference today. I've got the story about J.K. Rowling. I've got that story as well. Some more from Trump at this meeting with the generals today. And the more that the left wants to denigrate this whole thing, the better it is. They show themselves as so completely disconnected from everything that moves Americans. To desire to be on the wrong side of everything. Oh, and I've got the Super Bowl story, of course. I have an update on the shooter there in Michigan at the church. There's a lot going on, and I have got it for you. And then one of the key lines from Trump regarding shutdown. And then an interesting line from Trump regarding Putin. And the idea of, I really thought I could get this done, but it turns out, well, very interesting. So that we are getting back to the show. If you don't know who I am, Tony Katz. Hey, how are you? We've got a radio show that we do here with the live stream, so we're just waiting for the radio show to come back, and that's how we get that going. Looking forward to bringing that to you. You can follow me here on YouTube, youtube.com/Tony Katz. Subscribe. I'd appreciate it. And find everything going on over at TonyKatz.com. We've got the Substack over there. Cool things coming out constantly. I'd appreciate it if you would be a part of it. Great sponsors, Von Reest, that's the chrono right there. And then Defiance Beef, and we'll talk about all that this hour. And smoke them if you got them, because I got them, and I'm smoking them. Some people have asked, does it matter what you smoke? Well, somebody wants to send me something to smoke and review. I will gladly do that. Someone wants to sponsor the cigars, they can do that as well. Producer Landon is back in the studio. Tell me we're back to ready to go. So let's do some radio.
About the state of the Democrat Party when they have a 33% favorability rating on average in recent months, and they're willing to shut down the government over healthcare.
They are shutting it down. We're not shutting it down. We don't want it to shut down because we have the greatest period of time ever. I told you, we have $17 trillion being invested. So the last person that wants it shut down is us. Now, with that being said, we can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like. And you all know Russell Vought. He's become very popular recently because he can trim the budget to a level that you couldn't do any other way. So they're taking a risk by having a shutdown because of the shutdown, we can do things medically and other ways, including benefits. We can cut large numbers of people out. We don't want to do that, but we don't want fraud, waste, and abuse. And, we're cutting that. But they want to have illegal aliens come into our country and get massive health care at the cost to everybody else, and we don't have it. And that's I would say, the number one reason that they want to strike is to get illegal immigrants health care. And, Gavin Newsom wants that, too, in California, and it's destroying California.
We discussed this earlier. that if the Democrats want to shut it down, they can. But they're the ones who lose out. They're the ones who are going to lose out on programs, and they're the ones who are going to lose out on people, because you can fire all these people, which they've already been preparing for, and then when the shutdown's done, you want to hire people back, you don't hire those people, you hire your people. You can remake the government that way. And I want to be on the record. I want the people to stay fired. I want to do more with much less. And then I want to reduce a good, I don't know, let's just call it 842 programs. You say to me, Tony, do you have a list of 842 programs? And I'll say to you, not yet. But if you give me 30 days, I'll find you 842 programs that have no business being in existence. Again, I will tell you, Doge is a good idea. We shouldn't stop because not everything went perfect. We should keep going because we don't have an option. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. Live streaming on the YouTube's Tony Katz or the Twitter X, Tony Katz. You can find me there, 833-468-8669. Agree, disagree. Just be decent and I'll have the conversation. 833-GOT-TONY. That's how you get to be a part of the show. Again, I will tell you, it comes, it doesn't come. Whatever happens, happens. My advice is to have yourself a drink. Have a beverage. If you need any beverage ideas, I'm more than happy to help. What's the best bourbon to drink during a shutdown? I'll put that video out later. I will make that work. And one of the other things that took place today, that was President Trump speaking at this press conference about the lowering of insurance costs, announcing that there's a deal with Pfizer for a lowering of prescription drug prices, saying, quote, this is a result of the most favored nation drug pricing order that we established earlier this year. Now we're going to be paying whatever the lowest price is. And President Trump said prices would come down immediately. I'm not a fan of this and the idea of forced price reductions. Very much an un-American thing to do. The argument would come back to me that we are seeing an abuse of the system that increased costs for Americans. I would say to you, to those people who make that argument, I would say, okay, then go about right now changing that system. I'm in. Let us change the regulatory environment. Let us change other environments that allow for any level of abuses. Let's make those changes through legislation right now. Let's go. And let us out those people who somehow think that what we have going on right now is just fine. Wouldn't this be something that could be bipartisan in nature, that Republicans, conservatives could get the win on for leading the charge and all of us be better off? The idea that I'm going to, by force, reduce prices. Yeah, it's not what presidents do. It's not what we do. If you want this to be legislative, regulatory, I'm all in. 10,000% in. People are going to like the lower costs. The question will be, at what cost do the lower costs come? On some drugs, I got to assume that a drug company can absolutely handle the lower costs and be like, all right, we had a good run. We made our money while we could. Now we'll just make this money. And then 2 years from now, when they're out of supply, they won't even offer up that drug anymore. What happens at that moment? Not enough meat on the bone. It's not worth the time. So you know what they say? We're done here. We don't do that drug anymore. Yeah, we just found that we couldn't really produce it the way we would like to. Oh, but wait till you see our new drug that you sniff it and you lose weight. Smifodium. I don't know what they're going to call it. What they call it? Well, if you sniff it and you lose weight, I guess it would just be called Biden. And so we've got this great new drug called Biden. And even Joe Biden has said of the drug, where am I? And so now that's what we're going to sell. No, this drug over here that everybody's using, we don't make any money on that anymore, so we don't do that one. But this Biden sniff drug, that's the future. Only $842 a pill. And as a reminder, people say it only costs you 3 cents to make the drug. No, it costs 3 cents for the second pill. It costs $42 billion for the first pill, or whatever it is the investment actually took. Let's not forget that. By the way, very, very funny chat room. Sniff and lose weight was big in the 80s. That, ladies and gentlemen, that is a cocaine joke. Try and get that elsewhere, right? Only here. Only here. So that was Trump's big announcement today. But I thought one of the bigger stories was almost a moment of self-effacing from the president. When he talked in front of the generals and admirals, he showed up after and spoke after the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, spoke today. And I will share that with you in full if you haven't heard it. I have the whole speech. That's coming. He talks about ending the Ukraine war. Listen.
The easiest one of them all is Putin. I said, number one, it's a war that would have never happened if I were president, if the election weren't rigged. If I were president, that war would have never happened, not even a little chance. And it didn't happen for 4 years. But I knew Putin very well, and I thought that would be easy because I know him so well. Well, that one turned out to be the hardest of them all. We had some that were not settlable, and they all got settled. So if this works out that we did yesterday with the Middle East, then that's more than a war. That's lots of wars. That's all combined. That's a lot of wars. Many of you were over there in many different capacities in many different countries. That's a big part of the earth.
People are like, Trump sounds ridiculous. He sounds mental. We need to invoke Eric Swalwell. We need to invoke the 25th Amendment. You had from January 20th, 2021 to January 20th, 2025 to do just that, Eric Swalwell. But I guess when you're so busy banging a Chinese spy, you don't have time to recognize that the then president of the United States wasn't in his right mind. But Trump is talking exactly the way Trump does, and all of a sudden it's an issue. It's exactly the way the man talks. But I thought it was interesting that he made this statement that, I thought this was going to be easy. I thought this was going to be easy, but it has not been easy. No, it has not. Meanwhile, Ukraine is going full on. They have now hit, there was a major drone strike from the Russians against the Ukrainians, and now Ukraine has engaged a missile strike against a thermal power plant in a place called Belgorod. And that has put parts of Russia into darkness. And so Ukraine has been very aggressive in going after power, going after oil, going after refineries, going after pipelines, and now thermal power. This thermal station supplies for the town of Belgorod a third of the city's heating and electricity. And so there's 35,000 people in the city. So they kind of blacked out the city. And you say, well, listen, it's not Moscow. You're right. But it does show the ability to engage reach and pinpoint and precision. And it does show a willingness from Ukraine to say, look, we're done caring. The presidential office, Ukraine's presidential office, has said Russia has made blackouts and terror part of its war strategy. Now it is facing the same price. We've got the weaponry to do it. We have U.S. weapons we're going to be getting from NATO. More and more. All because you, Vladimir Putin, decided to insult Trump. So more stuff is becoming available to us. This is what we're doing. By the way, the town, forgive me, doesn't have 35,000 people. It's 350,000 people. Known as a logistical hub for the war effort. Ukrainians are not done, not by any stretch of the imagination. They're not anywhere close to done with trying to fight back. But when it comes to just the sheer amount of people, they can't keep up. They would need more attacks like this that more discombobulate the Russians, could lead to more people saying, I'm not going to go fight, to the extent that that's actually happening or could happen. They still need a way out. So, by the way, do the Russians. But the Russians haven't stated that they want out. They had a chance. They met with Trump and nothing came of it. So now here we are, with NATO more than happy to be supportive of Ukraine, Europe thrilled to be supportive of Ukraine, things being bought from the United States, us selling hardware. What if I told you everyone's kind of happy with this result? Which is insane, because we should want this to be over. But if it can't be over, mess up the Russians, make some cash. Don't look at me. That's Putin's fault. Much more to get to. This is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz Today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. Let's see what we've got here. Got some Super Bowl stuff to discuss. You've got questions. I've got answers. What else do we have going on? Is there any breaking news right now? No, I was expecting a presser today for some reason. But that is not coming. That is not happening. One should think we're going to see that later this week. If you ask me, hey, Tony, what is your take on the divorce between Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban? I have no take. I've got nothing. I hope they find happiness. The only thing I can take from the Keith Urban, Nicole Kidman divorce is that I guess Tom Cruise was right. There are some things where I have there's just nothing. Now the Super Bowl thing, I got something for that. we will get back to the radio show right now. Glad you guys are here. Don't forget to follow on Twitter X Tony Katz. Good to see the people joining the live stream. Tell your friends, my gosh, we have pie. What do you mean we don't have pie for everybody? You had one job. Pie. Anyway, back to the show. That's Bad Bunny. And I'm not familiar with his music. What I have learned about him since finding out he would be the halftime show for the Super Bowl is that he doesn't like Trump, doesn't like ICE, and doesn't have any songs in English. So, perfect pick, NFL. The only way you could have done more is if you had picked Rosie O'Donnell. Truly the case. Tony Katz today. Guys, good to be here. Good to be with you. There's a lot about why this pick, and does this involve the fact that Jay-Z works with the NFL through his company and they decide what the halftime act is? Is this a conversation about the fact that the NFL is trying to get more and more international, and the games in Ireland and the games in the UK, games in Germany, games in Mexico, and they're trying to build, and so they wanted somebody of more of an international flair because that's where the money is. They don't care about the US fan, they care about the money. The Shield is everything, and the Shield does not care about whether or not you're watching. They figure most of you just complain, but you watch anyway, which, as we all know, is the truth. So as for the pick for this guy, I don't know, people will watch the Super Bowl halftime show or they won't. I think there are plenty of people who looked at Kendrick Lamar and said, what the heck is this halftime show? And then got it explained to them that, oh, there was something going on here. There's a story going on here with how this part of the set looked, and that Serena Williams, and what is going on here? A lot of people learned what a crip walk is. There was a lot of education that took place. And then, of course, what the song They Not Like Us is all about. But the Bad Bunny thing is not the story. The story is the Taylor Swift story. Because as the story went, Taylor Swift was approached about doing the halftime show. You're engaged to Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs. My gosh, this is everything you could want. Taylor Swift at the halftime show. As the story goes, she said, no thanks. Not interested. Because it seems that Taylor wanted to get paid, and if you don't know, the NFL doesn't pay the performers of the halftime show. They don't get paid. They get exposure. Biggest stage in the world. You want to be on it or not. It'll help the album sales. They don't get paid. Taylor said, hi, maybe you don't know me, but I could sneeze. I was gonna say something dirtier. I could sneeze on Instagram, and I can get more viewers of my sneeze than you have for the Super Bowl. I want you to know, I cleaned it up in the middle of the thought. That's how much I care about you and my affiliates. That's all I have to do. What are you talking about exposure? You want me, you pay for me. That's all there is to it. She wanted a deal that reflected her value. Me too. I want a deal that reflects Taylor Swift's value. Who wouldn't? She's right to say no. Did the NFL really think they could get her? And you could say to me, well, Tony, other people have done the halftime show, didn't need the exposure. Michael Jackson didn't need the exposure. Janet Jackson didn't need the exposure, and that's a great double entendre right there. Prince didn't need the exposure. I would say that that's all true. And they could have had their own reasons for doing the show. Right? Different time and place, different ways of reaching people. They may have seen a value in it. It may have just been like, you know what? This sounds like fun. Let's go do something fun. This sounds like a good time. Let's go do that. That could have very well been it. But the idea that you're surprised that Taylor would say no. Of course Taylor said no. She just came off the biggest tour ever. You have nothing that you can offer her. And she was right. Now, 10 years from now, maybe she'll see it differently. The audience will have grown up. No one stays young for forever. Things change. Sure. But I say that she's accurate. And as for the Bad Bunny pick, I don't know. I'll see the clips, but I won't worry about the halftime show. And I don't think the vast majority of people will either. I have to assume that the vast majority of people are going to say, or at least I shouldn't say the vast majority, a fair majority of people are going to say, I wonder what else is on. But the NFL isn't after you. They're not after you if you speak English and live in the Midwest. Then again, if it was Taylor Swift, I ask this, were you going to watch? That's just it. There are very few acts you would have watched. Your daughters would have watched. I have no idea if they're going to watch Bad Bunny, which, by the way, is an absolutely horrific name. Just call him Frank. This is Tony Katz today. And what is Frank from? Oh, I thought producer Landon would know. No? Oh, no. Frank the Bunny is from Donnie Darko. Donnie Darko is a heck of a film. Is that Jake Gyllenhaal? Yeah, I think it is. So, no, wasn't. Not at all. A Donnie Darko reference. Right there. Are we now calling this Tony Katz Nation? I didn't know. I didn't know that's what we did. Full disclosure, I have not seen Happy Gilmore 2. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I got busy with anything else, I believe is the way that it went. All right, let's see what we've got right here. Let me get myself together. Let me see if I've got any breaking news. Okay. If you don't want me to be able to do that.
Can you tell us what you think about?
All right, there it is right there. So I've got that. And I've got that. Let me get to here. All right, I've got that right there. This. Nope. 1 minute. I hear you. All right. Bunch of things to get to. People are funny. People are funny. Producer Landon, what do you have against the WWE? Wow, you are like an elitist. You can't get into the WWE? Oh, I'm too good for that. I'll only watch the UFC. I don't watch anything that repeats the same initial. That's kind of elitist you are.
Can you tell us what you think about the attack on the Dallas ICE facility? What was your reaction when you saw the shooting? The shooting at the ICE facility in Dallas?
I'm not aware.
Another attack on ICE, specifically at that facility.
I'm going to take a look and have my staff bring me the report.
Walking through, was it a hotel lobby? She's not aware that an ICE facility was attacked. Sure. Maybe we shouldn't be electing octogenarians. Octogenarians. That's it. That's the word. If we shouldn't be electing 80-year-olds. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. 833-468-8669. 833 got Tony. That's how you get to be a part of the show. So that's Maxine Waters. And then there's Ilhan Omar.
I think that rhetoric is responsible?
That's your opinion, ma'am. I'm just asking what you think.
You don't think that's on you? You don't think that's on you?
On me?
Yeah.
No, I'm just asking the question, but thank you.
Was that Ilhan Omar claiming that the shooting at ICE was the fault of Republicans? But this is the kind of nonsense that you get from people who are not serious people. And you know that they're not serious people because they make kind of ridiculous claims like this one.
Anytime, that he sees a black woman sort of stand up for herself, that is intelligent, that is able to command respect, he wants to go after them and break them down. But he doesn't understand that you can't really bully a black woman, right? We're built different.
Yeah. Let me ask you about this because.
What? What is that? I have heard things like this in my life. And I always thought it was some of the most bigoted and ridiculous stuff out there. Oh, you can't say that to a black woman. Oh, you can't say that to a black man. Oh, you can't say that to a Hispanic woman. Oh, you wouldn't want to say that to an Italian woman. What is this? You could say anything you want. Some people react one way. Some people react another way. You can't say that to these people. You can't bully a black woman. Who's bullying anybody? What are you talking about? And I don't think you're tough if you marry your own brother. This is just one man's philosophy. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Allegedly. Someone please tell the lawyers I said allegedly. She's totally fine with trying to bully the Jews. It's all about the Benjamins and what have you. Oh, yeah, it's just about Israel. Of course it is. Can't say that on air. But you can't bully a black. What possibly is he referring to? Is she referring to here? What bullying do you think is taking place? It's such a weird, nonsensical statement. It's a statement of pseudo-intellectualism. And it is only appropriate that she made this statement to Don Lemon because Don Lemon is the king of pseudo-intellectualism.
Men who look like you, men who vote like you, and men who sound like you. White men, something is broken. Something is cracked deep inside when so many of you believe the answer to fear, to loss, to change is violence. Are you listening to me? I hope I'm saying it loud enough for the people in the back.
No. We heard you. We heard you, Don. I just would like for you to now to address the black on black violence in every major city. White people only know how to respond to anything with violence. Can I ask, for those of you in the cheap seats that he was referring to, the people in the back, that's a very KKK kind of line, isn't it? You're saying that because of a skin color, people can't react appropriately or responsibly, which is exactly what groups like the KKK would say about black men, about black people in general. That somehow the color of the skin meant X, Y, and Z, an incapacity to do this or an incapability to do that. How is Don Lemon not engaged in a full Ku Klux Klan conversation? 3 Ks and a C for Don Lemon. The Ku Klux Klan conversation. That's what he's saying. No conversation, by the way, regarding the black on black violence in all of these cities. What a weird, odd thing to say. But it goes to what Ilhan Omar was just talking about being bullied. This is some pseudo-intellectual tough guy nonsense that gets thrown into the ether. Hey, let's see if I can enrage somebody. Let's see if I can get 4 more clicks. But what does it actually do? How is anybody better off from that statement? The answer is they're not. But the response from that is, well, Tony, no one's trying to be better off from the statement. He's not trying to make anybody better off from the statement. He just wants you to talk about it so he can be seen as a guy who is stirring the pot. He'll get more clicks and therefore make more money. You're the one playing into it. And you might very well be right about that. You might very well be right about that. I mean, it's the same way that maybe I shouldn't be playing any Ta-Nehisi Coates, and producer Landon, I think it's clean. I remember it clean, but finger on the dump button just in case.
I don't take any joy in saying this, but we sometimes soothe ourselves by pointing out that love, acceptance, warmth, that these are powerful forces. I believe they are. I also believe hate is a powerful force. I believe it's a powerful, powerful unifying force. And I think Charlie Kirk was a hate monger. You know, I really need to say this over and over again. I have a politic that rejects violence, that rejects political violence. I take no joy in the killing of anyone, no matter what they said. But if you ask me what the truth of his life was, the truth of his public life, I would have to tell you it's hate. I would tell you I'd have to tell you it is the usage of hate and the harnessing of hate towards political.
Enjoy that. I mean, this is you, right? Hate of white people. Oh my gosh, your book about I spent a week in Israel and I've determined that it's all the Israelis' fault. such a deep mind. What do you do with that? That's his take. Everyone's got a take. Now, very few people get to make it to the New York Times with that take and have Ezra Klein just go, There are always going to be people who don't address things with honesty. They address things through not just their lens, right? One thing I could understand, but rather I have to see it a certain way, right? Everyone gets accused of this. They've accused me of this. It's me accusing him of this. It's him accusing somebody else of this. If your take is that Charlie Kirk was a hater for debating people in public, okay. Now, did most people show up to those debates because they were watching Charlie Kirk slap around a liberal like a cat with a mouse? 10,000%. Someone wants to argue that all day. But the idea that there was a hate there, it's a hate for what? Communism? Sure. People who were opposed to the American way of life, to the value system that we have? Maybe. People would say that about you. I don't know if it should mean any more, any less. It's just what is. You listened to Charlie Kirk and you determined, hater. I got hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who see it the other way. So, sure, you go right ahead. Maybe we should take a look at the author, Ta-Nehisi Coates, and see it as differently than what Ilhan Omar said and Don Lemon said. Because what they said isn't so much opinion as it is rabble-rousing, pseudo-intellectual, tough guy nonsense. Coates is just wrong. Maybe that's the way it should be seen, and maybe that's all we can do. Listen to this as you hear people and be like, yep, that's wrong. Yeah, that's a mistake. Nope. I'm going to make sure I explain to my kids why that's a mistake. As opposed to people like Lemon and Omar, who in this case, who are trying to play tough. Those are different things, maybe. We should see them as different things. And then there's just the stuff that's flat out ignorant. The stuff that's flat out ignorant is people like the mayor of Chicago who want to say that Assata Shakur was an important person in the Black liberation movement. Assata Shakur was a communist who killed a New Jersey state trooper and then fled to live the rest of her life in Cuba. She wasn't important in any way. She was a despicable, low communist and murderer. And leftists who want to support her are dangerous people who should be noted as dangerous people and shouldn't be given any political power. Opinions? People are going to have opinions. You're going to disagree with opinions. Some, you're going to be like, that's just flat out wrong. Some people are just going to be fools. Desperate that you'll pay attention to them. And some people are going to promote communists, which is just flat out dangerous. I think it's important that we are able to note the difference and then apply ourselves accordingly to those differences. I can ignore Ta-Nehisi Coates. What a fool. I can discuss the ignorance of Omar and Lemon. And I could say without any fear that the mayor of Chicago is absolutely stating that communism and cop killing is fine. You don't vote for losers like that. You don't vote for Ilhan Omar either. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Sorry about that, guys. Didn't mean for that to repeat. Thank you very much. Tony Katz today. And let me just say for the record, so good. DefianceBeef.com. This is where you want to get your steaks. You can order the cow. That's right. The whole cow. You can get it cut the way you want it cut. You can get the types of cuts that you want. All of it. You just go to DefianceBeef.com. DefianceBeef.com. And you use promo code Eat, Drink, Smoke. That's my cigar and bourbon show. Eat, Drink, Smoke. You'll get $150 off your entire order. So easy to do. It is incredible. Age 21 days. It is so good, so tender, grills up so great. We've made burgers. We've had fillets. We've had strips. We've had ribeyes. I've got a brisket that we're going to be doing. Spectacular. Cut to the thickness you want. Go to DefianceBeef.com. Use promo code Eat, Drink, Smoke, and get yours. Oh, yeah. Clear out the chest freezer. So if you don't have one, get a chest freezer. And then order. I'm waiting. Mine should be here any day now. I cannot wait. I'm ready. I am ready to go. I am ready to grill my stupid face off. DefianceBeef.com. That's where you go. And use promo code Eat, Drink, Smoke. Get $150 off. Do that immediately. Oh, so good. So very, very good. Let me go to the comments right here. I'll be over for that brisket. Thank you for asking, Tony. I'm sorry, Jennifer. We've never met. No milk. No milk. Just beef. Oh, if you buy the cow, do you get the milk for free? Somebody's funny. Somebody is very, very funny right there. And the mayor of Chicago is a moron. Well, yeah, that's about right. That is absolutely right. If you're having ribeyes, excellent. Ribeyes should be done medium. Strips should be done medium rare. You want the fat to render. Don't. Are we debating me? Are we doubting me here? What are we, insane? Get it done. Thank you. Thank you right there. Back to the show, everybody. The shooter in Michigan who set the church on fire, ran his truck into the church, killed 2 people, set the church on fire. 2 others were killed in the fire. Real issue with Mormons. This is ugly stuff. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. The shooter had a rifle, exchanged gunfire with officers, killed at the scene. As I know the story, and they're still working on levels of motive, which I thought we had in a conversation that happened with a guy running for school board. The guy running for the local office remembered, actually, he wasn't running for school board, he was running for city council. I remember a conversation he had. He knocked on this guy's door. They had like a 20-minute conversation, and then got in. All of a sudden, he's talking bad about Mormons and referred to them as the Antichrist. He had an issue. But as I know the story, he rams his truck into the church. People came to the truck to see if he was okay. And that's when he started firing. He wanted to do as much damage as he could. It is an absolutely horrific story. Previously arrested, as reported by Fox News, for burglary and OWI. When did it become OWI, not DWI? When did that change? I wasn't always driving under the influence. Now it's operating while intoxicated. I don't know why that changed. I'm like, was there a woke reason, or is there some other legal reason to engage a little more specificity? I don't know. What I do know is that there were people desperate to scream, oh, look at what MAGA did. I can't believe MAGA did this. Oh my gosh, MAGA. I have no idea. Yes, 2 American flags out the back of his truck. I'm telling you, I've got no idea. And I'm bothered that we don't know more. Because every time something happens, we either know everything because it's about people on the political right and it makes them look bad, or we don't get information. It turns out it's regarding something on the political left. And somehow it gets hidden, kept away, kept in the dark, etc. I don't want any part of this kept in the dark. I don't want Mormons thinking that every time they go to their services that they're under attack. But then again, I've said this many times. You are a soft target in your place of worship. Buy guns, buy ammo, get trained, be prepared, be ready. And any church leader, pastor, priest, rabbi, whatever, who says we don't bring guns to this place of worship, fire them or quit, because they're not serious about protecting themselves. They're not serious about lives being at stake, and they need to be. Awful story. As we get more details, I'll bring them to you. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. This is Tony Katz Today. And that's, kids, hold on. That's the story. Now, the radio show is going to continue at WIBC.com. So you're going to want to check that out right there. Go to WIBC.com and be a part of the show and listen to the show. And I'm going to share so much of the Hegseth speech right there. As for the live stream, I moved from that around this time. I was only doing 90 minutes. We extended it out. We did extend it out. We're getting better. We're getting better at doing that. And of course, go to TonyKatz.com and subscribe at TonyKatz.com. I would appreciate that quite a bit. What we're building over there is great. Can't thank you guys enough for being here. Truly, truly appreciate it as always. And I will be back tomorrow. I'll catch you then, guys. Take care.